not to talk about titles, right? I'm labeled as a videographer. I don't really like it at times.
You gotta let people know like who you are now.
You gotta force it.
You gotta force it, and then you gotta reinforce it with your action. It's like, this is who I am now. This is what I've done. I already told you how to do it. I already told you how to do it. Structure the deal with the outcome. Because if you have to interject on that and nothing's going wrong with the deal, that means you didn't structure the deal correctly.
Damn, so. Mic drop. On that note, another one. Rasheed's on fire. Here's something I wanted to talk to you about is I have a client. A shout out to Mark Miller. He does funding, right, for businesses. And he was talking about the who, not how. Having the who, not how mentality, where it's if you're stuck and you have... Now, I haven't read the book, but he was telling me about it. If you're stuck and you have certain problems or certain challenges, right, it's not really... Sometimes it's not about how you're going to get out of these tight situations, but who's going to help you, achieve some of those goals. Kind of like we were saying on the last podcast was, the 6 degrees of separation, right? Who is going to be the one to help you, right, get, piece together what you need to know or do in order to achieve the next goal, right? So my question to you, how do you identify that person to help you with your current challenges or your current goals that you want to achieve?
Well, number one is going to come down to experience. You need someone that understands the place that you want to go. Number two is that you identify that they also have resources as well. That resources comes down to, it may not be money, it may not be time, but they may have resources. So it's going to be one or three of those things, or it could be all three that they actually have. There's times when I'll call a mentor and I'm not asking for any like monetary resources. I'm not even asking for his time. I'm just asking quickly like, hey, who do you know that's in this space that can help me out, that I can ask questions to? Or I'll say, hey, I need this resource or I need your time to help me game out something. So once you identify the individuals that have these things, then those are the people that can help you get to where you need to get to, in my experience.
Yeah. Recently, has that been one of your, what challenges have you had recently that you identified that who for you?
Let's see. I would say, I guess if I had to explain a little bit more in the whole aspect of a new destiny helper, a person that can help, is...
Destiny helper. I like that.
I would say a recent new friend of mine, right? He's known in the community for, being able to coach and walk through the sales process of things. So with him, it was through conversation. I didn't flat out ask him, hey, I need you to coach me on this or whatever and go through this process with me. It was through a series of conversations, of lighthearted conversations, where we're just talking about and catching up on things that are going on in our lives now. And then I would allow him to kind of interject and talk about, or I'd say, hey, what would you do if you were in this situation? Or what do you think about this? And then after I've seen that, okay, he has the experience, knowledge base, and the things that I'm looking for to engage in this conversation, now we can have a more formal structural strategy session on that part.
What do you do when you don't find the who for you?
YouTube. Google, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. So you go through this process of doing your own research. For right now, I would say...
I'll figure it out.
I'll
do it.
I recently sat down with someone that had asked me for my time to go through a process that she wanted to go through, right? And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go and sit down. We'll sit down and we'll go through this whole process. And so all I'm doing is giving time, but I'm also showing her, hey, this would be good for your business. But at the same time, before you sit down and have a conversation with someone, too many chefs in the kitchen, do your own research. I said, use ChatGPT because it's gonna bring everything together in one place for you. And ask it all the questions you can ask it. And when you can no longer ask any questions or whatever, then reach out to someone else or whatever to give you real world experience of how they've tackled that problem. And you'll get a well-rounded response and plan of attack on what you need to do. But so many people They do it kind of like backwards. Sometimes, yes, it's great to have a mentor and a coach in that whole aspect, but first do your research and play it out first. Make wise mistakes. A wise mistake is moving forward with what you believe is the right course of action. And then continuously do that. And then you're like, okay, now I can make an adjustment and let me go and ask for an experience point.
Kind of like what I was asking you about putting on the events for speakers, like a speaker series. That's why I asked you, because I kind of want to copy, or maybe we can even get into that night of mentorship style and create that as the speaker, series. I had to come to you. I had to ask you, like, hey, first, can we use a space, right? We're at Wonderwall Space, so a great place to do it. But then, okay, how do I do it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you have the experience when you put that on. So you're a who to me, right? So this whole who, not how mentality, when looking for this person, right? You want to find somebody in that space, like you said, right? But when there's nobody in that space, besides the online resources, right? At what point do you have to go ahead and outsource that?
When I first started like the speaker series, so I had two speakers. One was Night of Mentorship, and then the other one was Ignite, right? Night of Mentorship was...
And you created that.
Yep. I created that when I was 19 years old. And, for years, up until I was like about 25, 26, that was probably the last time I did one, but I did one every single year, and it grew. The way that I created that process was I got 3 speakers, one to speak about image, one to speak about belief, and then one to speak about mentorship. And then, so my process of creating that event was, okay, let me find 3 community individuals that I know that have communities, right? So that I know people come and support them. And then I'm going to promote them in a way of such that I'm going to elevate their platform that they already have, but also I'm going to target the type of business owners that are wanting to get information. So I'm going after individuals in specific industries, not just one, but specific industries that this information would be applicable to them that want to level up their business. Then I'm going to put it in an environment that would be interesting, but also could be a night out that they'd want to invite with a friend. Because, just statistically, a lot of women won't go to networking events alone. They'll need a friend to go with, and it's like, I hear all the time, it's like, I didn't have anybody to go with, so I didn't go. So, okay, I was like, all right, let's make this into more of a gala kind of night, right? Yeah. I know the guys, with the guys, I need to find a guy's guy. I need to find a guy's guy that other men look at and like, you know what, I want to be like this guy, right? And so there's a lot of different variables that I was playing around with the concoction of even creating that type of event. And then going back to the environment, I held it at like wineries, castles, even castles. Like artistic areas and stuff like that, like art galleries too. So I did it all these different places or whatever. People were like, this is very interesting, right? And then also what I'd bring in like a saxophonist, a live painter or whatever to paint painting while the whole thing was going on, and then we'd raffle that off and stuff. And then, but in that, I was like, okay, these are the elements that I have. Let me go get this money. And so the tickets were low, and so I went to corporate companies, and that's how I learned about corporate sponsorship. It's like, hey, don't ask for a sponsorship. Ask for the marketing budget. Ask for this. This is the person you need to talk to or whatever. This is the time of year that you need to host your event because this is where they need to get some of this money away. And so there were so many different elements that put together. So I had like drinks. I'd have food and drink sponsors. I'd have table sponsors or whatever, especially if I wanted to give away sponsorship to like students that were in colleges and stuff like that to help fill up the room and stuff. And then I'd give my clients, so like, hey, you know what? This table is usually this or whatever. I'm going to give you a discount on this or whatever. And so that's how I put together Night of Mentorship for years. And then Ignite became more of a speaker series where it was a Q&A, almost like a live podcast kind of format and stuff.
Like
and
a panel.
A panel. And so for that, it was more so of intimate spaces that I was putting together for that. So the environment was conducive to what I wanted to do. But there was always this element of pizzazz to it.
The speakers that you chose or the mentors that you chose, those were definitely key to have for this event. So they were the who that you needed. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like what has been my struggle right now is finding that who to help me drive this vehicle forward. because I have the keys. We can find people within our niche,
Yeah.
within, our industry, but then there's only so much one person can do.
Yeah.
Right. There's only so much I can do. And then there's only so much they can do. Right. How do you do it with multiple who's? Right, multiple people that you need. How do you delegate that?
It all depends on what you want to get done in the timeline that you want to get done as well too. Because not everybody's going to have the same skill set, so you're not putting your same capacity in everybody. There's people I talk to twice a year. I talk to them twice a year every year.
On schedule?
It just happens like
random.
that. But it's a good time. So I have people that I talk to that have to do primarily to my business, right? I have people that I talk to that has to do more with the global stance of like I don't talk politics or whatever. I talk more of like social, things that are going. I really don't like to talk about politics, right? I like to talk about the psychology of like society, and like those are the kind of conversations I like to have, right? Mm-hmm. And there's individuals that I will not talk to for like 6 months, right? But I will sit down and have a conversation, and we'll talk for like hours. Sometimes like 12, 8 hours, and it's like a whole day process with it. But it's like. And then they leave, And so, but that's how I've kind of built my life. And then there's people that I talk to every week, every day.
Do you find an uptick with those individuals? Like, do you level up?
Yep. Okay. I would say the uptick happens when I decide to level up. And
damn, that's a mic drop. That's a reel right there.
I will say this too. I'll say this because this is a lesson I think everybody needs to be mindful of. Right? Take that same concept and reverse it. And I think I had a conversation with you about this too. There are individuals that were in my space years ago that exploded and now are on like another level, another financial level, another freedom level, another spiritual level. And they're just known out there in the space, right? And at the time, if you're not aware of those individuals in your space that are about to pop off, right, you will get left behind. Now, listen to this, whatever, because people say, well, why does that matter? It matters because of this, whatever. Did you stay at the same place and not level up as well, too? And now that person no longer talks to you as frequent or no longer picks up your phone call because you decided to stay in the same place you were at. But at the same time, are you able to still carry your momentum to level up as well?
So then you decide.
Because you never want to be, oh, this is somebody I used to know. Oh, I knew that guy. I know that guy. Now you can't even get in touch with that guy. Can't get in touch with that girl. Because you were not being mindful of your position, but also the power players in your environment as well, too. Some people just want to be in the room. Other people want to control the room. So it's that. Here's the thing. You never just want to stay in the room. You want to be able to move in multiple rooms. You want to continue to build up your network, level up your network. That saying goes, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with, right? But also your net worth, too. Like, what is your net worth in combination to everybody else around you?
Yeah.
Is it in the hundreds, in the thousands, is it in the millions? Mm-hmm. And if you had to get your friends together to do some heavy, big shit or whatever, could your friends actually do that?
I saw this thing. Have you heard of the PayPal Mafia?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Seen that?
Yeah. Every one of them now are like billionaires. And
yes. Like once they sold PayPal, and Elon Musk was in it, right?
Absolutely, yep.
Once they sold, everyone went in, now they're millionaires, billionaires, right? So it's that thing, like you got to find your mafia.
And that's the...
Like video cartel.
And that's the big thing about that, because there's conversations that, I'm no longer comfortable having with people that I used to know.
Damn, that's another mic drop.
Because it sounds like you're bragging. If I show you some of the text messages that, me and my network now have in my phone, it's just like, you're like, oh, he's bragging about that, or he's talking about this new car, or he's talking about this new apartment building he just bought, or talking about this, or talking about that. And you're just like, do you sink into yourself when you have those conversations with your friends? Or do you like, dude, nah, go get that.
Yeah.
Or do you ask questions too? That's the other thing. It's like, if they're your friends and they're your people, they're going to help you level up too.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be like, you know what, let me stay out of their business. They're telling you their business because they want you to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all I can say with that is this: be mindful of the position you're in, because that friendship, that destiny helper, that mentor, whatever it may be, those could be the things that help push you forward. And a lot of times too, some of my mentors, they'll give me information or game for me to look at. And I'm be honest, sometimes I'm not even in the position to do it. But the fact that I just been exposed to it. Okay, walk me through this. Why did you bring this to my attention? I need to understand this.
Yeah.
Because you just threw something that's way over my head,
Yeah.
and it's okay to ask those questions.
It's like when I think of who I want to share some of like what I like Property Titans, when I came to you about it, I couldn't go back to one of my old friends with this idea. They probably wouldn't understand it.
Yeah.
But because we're playing at this level, and also too, I don't want to be seen as the videographer.
Yeah.
Right. I do it now because I have to. Right. But I'm after a different kind of, not to talk about titles, right? But I'm labeled as a videographer, and it's not always. I don't really like it at times. I do feel like I do have the capacity to talk about business. We've had conversations about business, and so I am business savvy. I'm a consultant of sorts. Some of my clients view me as consultants, but other people, even people from my past, oh, he's the videographer. Oh, the video guy. It's not. I don't really like it, but I guess it is what it is. But I'm trying to show a different side, even with this podcast. I'm trying to show a different side of me that everybody can look at. And I'm not always talking about video. I'm not always talking about filming. I'm not always talking about editing. Have other conversations, that are worth having.
We rarely have conversations about video and stuff. We
Right.
talk about scheduling, but we're not talking about actual video work.
Right? We're talking about the business, or we're talking about like how, and you ask me like, okay, what's the intention behind what you want to do with this? And you get me thinking. So that's one of those things too, is your circle, your who, the people around you, like you were saying, is matters a lot when trying to level up.
And I would say this: you got to change your position overall, and then you got to let people know like who you are now.
You got to force it.
You got to force it.
You were telling me.
You got to force
Yeah.
it, because you got to force it, and then you got to reinforce it with your actions.
Force the narrative.
I was just in the barbershop last week. Got my hair cut. I turn around, and it's an old old marketing client of mine, right? And I'm just like, hey, yo. And so he sees me as like, Rasheed? He's like, how's the marketing stuff going? I said, no, I left that game alone or whatever. I said, this is what I'm doing now, da-da-da-da. And he was like, what? He was like, oh, man, let's talk about some split contracts then. And so it was automatically, I didn't say, yeah, I still do that stuff on the side. No. This is who I am now. This is what I've done. It's like, this is who I am now. This is what I've done. He was like, take my number down or whatever. I said, I already got it. I said, I'm calling you right now. And he was like, okay, let's talk split. So we'll talk this week. But it's that whole aspect where it's just like, hold your position, right? And then reinforce it. But if you say, I'm not the video guy anymore, and then you pick up a camera, you're the video guy.
Yeah.
And so you have to. I already told you how to do it. So I
yeah.
already told you how to do it. So
It's the creative in me.
Yeah, I get
It's
it.
like,
I get it.
It's hard.
I
like,
get
no,
it.
do it like this. I want it like this. No, I know. There's certain things I have to do to forge that, that force that narrative on people.
It's structure the deal with the outcome you want. Structure the deal with the outcome you want. Because if you have to interject on that and nothing's going wrong with the deal, that means you didn't structure the deal correctly.
Damn, so. Mic drop. On that note, another one. Rasheed's on fire.
All I'm saying is, look, whatever your position is, just reinforce it. And then force people to see you differently. And then there's some people that I do not pick up the phone because I know they're calling me about marketing.
Send them my way.
I just might. Shoot. I mean, especially I
got
a call yesterday. It was like, for instance, I got a call. Okay, this is a good example. I got a call yesterday. It's crazy how we're talking about this now today. I got a call yesterday from an old marketing client, right?
Yeah.
Talked to him like 2 years or whatever it is. And honestly, I don't care if they see this because it's a learning lesson, which I've already warned them.
Yeah.
So old marketing client, I said, hey, they kept calling me, blowing up my phone. Something was wrong with a system, right? And I had told them, hey, you need to. I sent you someone to work with or whatever. I know this person's good.
Like, it's not me anymore.
This is a problem. This is a problem client. So
I think I remember.
Yep. And they told me, hey, there's an issue with this and this. I'm like, okay, a couple things. One, I'm in church. Two, I'm not even in front of my computer to even see what you're looking for. I said, so you can send me a screenshot. I'm gonna make a phone call. I said, now, I told him, before I make this phone call, just know there's going to be a cost attached to this. Okay? So no surprises. There's going to be a cost attached to this. And I said, and the cost is going to be a lot more than what you think, because you have to prep them. All right? So now I called my guy. He can fix this in about 20 minutes. He fixed it about 20 minutes. And I had to turn around and charge the client a fee that is a lot more than 20 minutes. I'm not going to say what the fee was, but that's some zeros. But it was because of that. It was just like, look, this is a reinforcement, but also I had already given you a solution. All right, I'm not gonna be touching and clicking keys like that, but you gotta reinforce it, and then add tax. So there's the mic drop.
That's it. We'll roll the credits. Hey, bring the logo up.